Hello class and welcome to Learning Module 8. In Learning Module 8 we're primarily going to be working with Microsoft Excel. So even though we're just doing this one single assignment, I'm sure that this will keep people busy possibly for a couple of hours. Hopefully most of you have had a chance to work with Excel or some spreadsheet program, but it's very important to be able to use a spreadsheet. In fact, spreadsheets are the #1 business analysis tool in industries. So the ability to be able to derive information from disparate data will be huge, and I think it's something that you'll be able to use throughout your schooling at Mesa, the San Diego Community College District, and if you transfer onto 4 years and throughout your whole professional career. So without further ado, let's go into this Excel spreadsheet. You will be able to find these spreadsheets in the learning modules under the case study. There's one that's called the example worksheets, and that's what this tutorial will be based on. And you'll be doing a very similar one called grader that will be based on Apple data versus IBM data, plus some of the other numbers will be changed. So as long as you can watch this video and follow along on the example worksheet, you should be set for the grader worksheet. So I'll break these videos up into each of the 3 different worksheets: ChangeMe, Grades, and SiteStat. So just as a review, when you create a Excel document, what you're doing is you're creating something called a workbook. Excel automatically creates 3 worksheets every time you create a workbook, and you'll see the name of this workbook is CISC150 Excel Example S15.XLSX. So anytime you see XLS, that means Excel, and then the newer versions have X on there because they are in XML format. Again, we're going to be starting on this first worksheet down here called Change Me, and you'll see that it's right here. You'll see Change Me. So let's start on the first step here. The first step asks us to change the worksheet called Change Me to IBM Expenses. You can either double click on this and you'll see that you have a gray outline, or the other option is if you're on the worksheet, you can right click and say rename. Either way is fine, and then we're going to update this to IBM Expenses. And you just hit enter, and now it's changed. So as we go along, I'll highlight all these in yellow. So if you go up here, you'll see this paint bucket, and I'm just going to highlight this yellow. Something else I'd like to point out as well is that all of these file, home, insert, page layout, and so on are called tabs in Excel. Each tab will then have multiple groups. For example, the Home tab has the clipboard group, the font group, the alignment group, the number group, the styles group, the cells group, and an editing group. And within each group, you'll see that there's certain functions that you can select. And we'll be using several of these throughout this lesson. The next step is step 2, where it asks us, and I'm going to actually increase the font of this a little bit, so hopefully it'll make it easier for everyone to see here. Okay, there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sum the years 2012 through 2014 for each year. Now key on this is that since this header row is a number, what we want to avoid is using this header number in our sum. So if we go into the Home tab, and if we select, and you'll see that Excel is a big grid, you'll see that this is cell A1 right here. That's selected, and you'll see that 1 is selected and A is selected. You'll also see up here you'll see A1, so you know that's the selected cell. In this case, what we want to do is select cell B7. So if we come down, we'll see B and then 7. And then you'll see that we have this green rectangle right here, and you'll see B7 highlighted. What we want to do is, a lot of times you can use the Autosum, and that's going to be up in this upper right hand corner under editing. And if you click, you can either click on Autosum this time since we want to sum, or you can click this down arrow and hit sum, average, max, and min. And we'll be dealing with max and min on the next worksheet. So if we click sum, and again notice that Excel automatically tries to guess what you want to sum. Since B1, even though it's a header row, is a number, Excel thinks we want to add that. So with this number highlighted, you'll see the little circles dancing around. You can actually select B2, and then you'll see I have it selected in the center, and then I'm dragging down, and then now you'll see B2 to B6 selected. And if I click on that, you'll see 28702. Another way to check this is if you highlight B2 to B6, you'll see down here, you'll see the average, the count, and the sum. So this is also another way for us to check our work. Since this is going to be in dollars, what we want to potentially do is change this to dollar format. And then you'll see now we have these hash marks. So what that means is that the column is not wide enough. It doesn't mean that anything is wrong. So what you could do is select between the B and the C columns. You'll see this line. And if you double click on this, then you'll see it right sizes it to match the width that we need. Also, since this is IBM, it's crazy money here, and this money is actually in millions. So this expense is actually 28 billion. So for some people, they might think that that's thousands, and it's only 28 million. So what we want to do is up in expenses, perhaps say our dollars are in millions. This way, anybody reading this chart knows that these are millions of dollars. One thing that Microsoft Excel has is this feature called Autofill. You'll see with this square selected, you'll see this bottom right corner, you'll see this little dot. You'll also notice that when I put my cursor over this, it turns into a plus symbol, a smaller X with black versus the larger plus symbol here. If we click on this and then drag this across, this is called Autofill, and it's going to carry the formula over to the next cells. So let's click in between C and D, and then D and E. And then now if we click on this cell, B7, we'll see this was the sum of B2 and B6. Since we drag this over, what Excel will automatically do is any letter, it will increment by 1. And if you go up and down, any letter or any number will be incremented by 1. So in this particular case on Autofill, it actually did the sum now of C2 to C6. So I always like to tell people this is working smarter instead of harder. And if I had you guess what this next one would be, I'm sure many of you would say that this would be D2 colon D6, and you're absolutely correct. So now we have the sum of 2012, 2013, and 2014. Again, if you wanted to check, you could just highlight cells D2 to D6. Now notice there's a difference between clicking in the center and dragging down versus if you accidentally grab the autofill and put that down. That's going to change all your numbers. If ever you make a mistake, you can either hit Control Z or this back arrow right here, and that restores your numbers. So just always make sure when you're dragging down, you're either dragging, or if you want to autofill, you autofill, but not all the time we want to autofill, so you have to really be careful with that one. So we've just completed step 2. And then let's move on to step 3. But in actuality, I think we've already went 10 minutes into this video, so I think what I'm going to do is take a break, and then we'll finish steps 3 through 12 in the next video. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video, guys.